Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Marsha, Head of Partnerships at Kilimanjaro Consulting, and we are thrilled to have you join us today. Now, I've always been quite open about my admiration for Australian founded companies who continue to punch above their weight. Today, I'd like to introduce you to another one of these champions, Cashed. Cashed is an Australian fintech company founded in 2020 and is headquartered in Sydney. Cash was created by Marcus Lazarou, who saw a real issue while working in payroll and workforce management. Marcus wanted to fix the disconnect between time worked and time paid, where employees were putting in the hours but often had to wait for 2, 3, or even 4 weeks before accessing their pay. The traditional pay cycle works well for some, but creates unnecessary financial stress for others. And that's how Cash was born. On a global stage, on demand pay has already taken off. In the US and UK, millions of employees now have access to flexible pay solutions, and research shows it contributes substantially to the overall well being. Cash is bringing the same innovation to Australia and New Zealand, making it one of the early movers in this region. Now, the platform integrates directly with HR and payroll, workforce management solutions, delivering employees instant access to their earned wages via a secure digital wallet. Cash redefines the pay cycle to match the way people live and work today. And we are joined by Marcus today to talk a bit more about how businesses can better support their teams while driving better outcomes for everyone. So, without wasting any more time, please join me in welcoming Marcus from Cash. Over to you, Marcus.
Thank you kindly, Marsha. Good morning to everyone, or it could be good evening if you're attending from other areas. I'm Marcus Lazarou, CEO of Cashed. I've been deploying technical solutions for over 20 years. In the early part, mostly in the products and services space. But in the last decade or so, I have absolutely focused on the human capital space. I have been searching and looking for those light bulb moments to make life easier for both employers and employees. So I'm very excited to run through what we're going to be talking about today around Cashed. Naturally, our story. I'm going to provide a short overview. We're going to discuss the problem and how I came to a solution. Then we're going to jump out of the solution and I'm going to deliver a live demo, which will be very exciting for everyone to view. With the help of Marsha, we're going to discuss some of the employee benefits. Probably the most important slide will be what makes us different. And then we'll jump into some frequently asked questions with Marsha for both the employer and the employee. So a little bit about Cashed. First of all, we're strictly B2B2C. So we have what is known as channel partners. Kilimanjaro is an extremely valued partner of Cashed. And the first thing you'll notice is the name Cashed. A lot of people pronounce it Cashed or Cashed. Where was the name born? I'm originally from Zimbabwe, a small little town in Bulawayo. And if you're lucky enough to have cash in your back pocket, you'd walk around and you'd flex your chest like a peacock and you'd say, I'm cashed up. And that's where the name was born from. I'm wearing a t-shirt today. I'm proud to represent the name Cashed. And we'll be discussing and going through probably an important point where we don't discriminate by employee status. Cashed is available for casuals, contractors, full-time, part-time workers. So we've made it available to everyone, not just in Australia and New Zealand, but around the world. Naturally, with the cost of living crisis, there's a lot of stress in the marketplace. So trying to alleviate the stress, we thought to ourselves, well, what's the most important asset in every business? And in my opinion, it's your human capital. It's employees. Employers are people. Employees are people. If we understand that, then the most important asset being human capital or an employee is their pay. So protecting their pay and allowing employees to access their pay in real time was the light bulb moment. So the three pillars in business, whether it's workforce management solutions, whether it's payroll solutions, or whether it's HR solutions, and typically one or a combination of those holds the source of truth for those employees, we're making that hard-earned dollar available in real time. Whether you've worked for a minute, whether you've worked for an hour, a day, a month, you should have the ability to click a button and get access to your pay in real time. And that is hopefully going to relieve some of the financial stress, which we'll go through shortly. The name real-time remuneration. Around the world, there are terms like on-demand pay, early wage access. We believe these have connotations to either payday lenders or credit card advances or personal loans, high interest-bearing products. So for cash, we wanted to differentiate ourselves from any of those perceived high interest type solutions, and hence the name real-time remuneration. We've done a lot of work with CBI Insights globally to try and establish a new category, namely RTR. We're hoping from the inception of onboarding employees, whether it's just a simple job ad, there'll be an RTR endorsed employer process where that will shine a light on the benefits that employers are delivering to their respective or new employees. So the key differentiator, just to start, before I delve into some of the more important points, is that RTR, real-time remuneration, is not early wage access and it's not on-demand pay. Very different to that. This is your hard-earned money as an employee, and you should at least have the option to access it in real time if you choose to. And it's not mandatory, it's just simply your money and you can choose to use it. The last point I'll make on this slide is that cash, which I will mention a few times, is not a loan. This is, again, your money, which you should have access to. So the problem as to the reasons why it's not globally adopted 50 years ago, in my opinion, is these old school antiquated payroll or legacy issued pay cycles. These are man-made, in my opinion. They're determined by an employer. They are either weekly, fortnightly, monthly, in some cases daily. But in my opinion, this has been a problem in deploying a real-time remuneration solution. Meaning, we can't go around the payroll solutions. We have to work in line with payroll solutions and workforce management and HR in delivering a seamless real-time remuneration solution. Hence, Kilimanjaro being one of the largest deployments of Acumatica, MyOb across Australia and New Zealand is our partner in delivering the solution. And again, that's the reason we strictly B2B2C. So we're not a direct-to-consumer product. We empower employers in delivering the solution to their customers. So in my opinion, the problem was pay cycles align with payroll companies that deliver these pay cycles, and we've got a chance at creating a solution. If we don't, we have found that without real-time remuneration, there's a lot of financial stress out there. There's a lot of payday loans annually being taken out. Look at that number, 358,000 on an annual basis. And interest rates could be as high as 600% in some cases. Covering shortfalls of expenses are not readily available unless you're taking out a payday loan or a credit card advance or a personal loan. And then considering not the mental well-being, but the financial well-being of employees. So to address these problems, we had to come up with a solution. And the solution was strictly, again, a B2B solution, namely an ethical alternative to, say, payday lenders or credit card advances. The solution needed to be instant, meaning you click a button and the withdrawal appears in your account in real time. In order to do that, we need to connect or have current integrations with payroll solutions, workforce, and HR. In this case, Acumatica is a valued integration for us. We also integrated with the MYOB Accounts Route or MYOB Exo solutions. So the entire MYOB ecosystem is available to deploy cached. And the instant connection leads to the immediate instant pay. And then I'm sure we'll receive a few questions. Because we integrated with payroll, there needs to be a way to reconcile this in real time, automated, back to zero at the end of each pay cycle, with no additional work required by any payroll officers. So we built proprietary tech with an automated deduction file process. So the solution in my mind, those three pillars, instant connection, instant pay, and automated deductions, we'd be able to deploy a solution like cached. So how does it work? And you'll see this in more detail when I do a live demo. Very simply, we tied up with Acumatica, the integration. It's a three-step process for any employer to sign up, and we can help them do that as well. It takes a few minutes. Because you already have that integration, the data then starts flowing through of all your employees. And keep in mind, it's all encrypted. This is not our data, it's your data. And it's all flowing through a very secure environment through Kilimanjaro and cached. And once that flow starts, an automated or a set time is put in place, and you can select any employees via an invitation to join cached. They receive a link, which I'll show you shortly, and they can start using cached, your employees, within a few steps. There is a transaction fee applied. There might be a few questions around what does this cost? It's a very small equivalent to an ATM fee, which is either borne by the employer or the employee. So for instance, we've had companies come on who absorb the transaction fee and deliver this as a zero cost to the employee as a pure employee benefit. And we have found that the fee that is paid is very low comparative to market standards. And again, it's that ethical alternative to taking out a payday loan, which we know most of the employees do anyway. So we're trying to stop that and move across to a more ethical solution. But what we have found is, every time you talk about costs or fees, there's a question mark. So together with Kilimanjaro, we have decided that we're going to deploy the solution on a 3-month trial for free. Meaning there's no cost to the employer, there's no cost to the employee. It's purely for adoption, and it's purely so you can get a feel what real-time remuneration feels like within your business. It also gives you the idea of how the automated deduction file process works. And after the 3 months or leading up to, say, the end of November, we will reach out to those who are using cached, and we can then go through the different models of how a transaction fee can work. Now, again, because it's employer empowered, we allow you, the employers or the customers, to decide on those fees. We don't dictate those fees. This is a solution that we've empowered you to deploy to your worker, to your employees, so you guys get to choose. I'm just going to jump out of the solution now, the PowerPoint, and I'm going to do a live demo. what you're looking at on your screen is when an employee receives an invitation to join Cashed, and it might be white label, might be your company brand and colors. They're going to receive a window similar to this, which could be customized, very with your colorways, with your logos. And the employee, all they're doing is putting in their work email. So in this instance, the employee is John Brown. I'm using a live demo environment. Once they put in their email, they're going to click send one-time password. Now, when I click that button, which I haven't yet, I'm using a disposable email system for this live demo. So I'm going to jump into what Yopmail. So let's change that to johnbrown@yopmail.com. Send one-time password. And my Yopmail account. Sorry, there's no AU on there. Send one-time password. A code's going to arrive in my Yopmail account, which is your work email. And there it is. So if you're on your mobile device, this is automated and it publishes straight away because I'm doing a live demo. Once I click verify, it's going to take you directly into the cash solution. And your available balance is being driven through the integration between Kilimanjaro, Cashed, and yourselves. So this data is real-time accrued wage for those specific employees. The screen will show you almost like a semicircle, and this is being upgraded next month, but it's pretty cool for now. It shows you where the employee is within that pay cycle. So this pay cycle is a month. It's from the 10th of August to the 9th of September. So far, they've accrued quite a large sum, given it's a demo live environment. I'm making money available to do this. There's 19 days left on the cycle, but most users simply click the withdraw button and they select an amount of how much to withdraw. In this instance, there's a dollar fee. We might choose $5 as an example, and we'll withdraw. And this is going directly to a bank account linked to John Brown, confirm. And in real time, these funds are being deployed into that personal bank account, and it hits their account in real time. On my watch, I've just received $5. I might enjoy a coffee later. So that's a real live demo of the solution. When you go back to the home screen, this is less $5. Very clean. What's happening in the background? We've got what is known as a cached web admin environment. This is the company that I was using to showcase that live demo, Expedo Staging. There are some transactions that have appeared, which we'll go through shortly. But the key highlight here is the tabs on the top: company, KYB, financial, payroll, banking, brand, email, and an API key. The only tab that is relevant and probably most important is the financial tab. This allows the employer to set a company umbrella limit on how much the employees can withdraw within a given pay cycle. So they can never withdraw more than what the employer has allocated for real-time remuneration. So as an example, it might be 50% of what an employee has earned to date. And if there's 100 employees, it might equate to a company umbrella limit of $10,000 as an example. Those are one of the limits and controls and security settings we have within the solution. Every employer receives their own dashboard, exactly the same as this, and they're able to edit or adjust. As long as you've got a master access, you can adjust these financial tabs. In addition to that, any employees linked to this Expedo staging environment, if I were to look at an employee's profile under settings, We could edit, a payroll officer could edit, or a human resource officer could edit the minimum and maximum allowable withdrawal per employee. So in summary, they're company umbrella limits. And then as a responsible ethical alternative, we've got individual employee limits, which could be adjusted. They always defaulted to 50%, but they could be adjusted by employee, per employee. The reasons could be an employee wants to, puts additional funds in their offset account. They'd have the ability to jump in here, click on the three little dots, view the employee, go into their settings and edit their minimum or maximum withdrawal. It's that simple. Naturally, there's a lot of tabs, but those are probably the most important ones to showcase today. Why offer real-time remuneration? Well, again, there's a number of different benefits, which we're going to go through now. I just want to emphasize again that there's a lot of companies that employ casuals, contractors, full-time, part-time. Again, Cashed offers a solution to cover every employee status. We know it's quite difficult with timesheeting, approval of timesheets, submitting timesheets where you're using a workforce management solution, where this is outside of full-time or part-time workers. We have algorithms that in real time determine those accrued wages, and hence we have the ability to deliver across the full employee spectrum. Some of those very powerful employer benefits, we know that there will naturally be improved productivity. From the hiring process or the onboarding process, we know if you're offering RTR, the acquisition is far higher. Global statistics tell us now that it's around 27%, it's growing to 30%. And over and above that, the staff retention is also very high, upwards of 20%, which means if you're offering RTR as a solution, real-time remuneration, you will attract better employees and you will manage to keep them longer because of this employee benefit. We're addressing financial well-being. We're protecting employees, and naturally get a lot of insights as to healthier and happier employees based on them using RTR, knowing that they're not using alternative solutions like payday lending or credit card advances. Some of the employee benefits that I should definitely highlight off the top of my head. This is not a loan. There's no direct debits required. There's no scrutinizing of your bank statements. This is your money. You've earned it. You should be able to click a button and access it in real time. Most importantly, there's no impact on your credit score because it's not a loan, which means that there's no reporting to any third parties. This is strictly an employee benefit delivered by your employer to you. And if you choose to use it and access funds, there's no reporting to third parties on that. So again, it's not a loan. There's no direct debits. It's your money, and there's no scrutinizing of bank statements. There's none of that. From an adoption point of view, we've been very lucky in Australia and New Zealand. Give you an example of one of our customers, Challenger Services. They employ around 2,000 to 2,500 employees. These are mostly blue-collar workers, probably across nursing, security guards, carers. They use and have been using cash for the last 3 or 4 years. The adoption is very strong. Admittedly, the withdrawals are of a lower value. They're earning close or above minimum wage, but they tend to have a weekly pay cycle for the majority of their employees, and they can't live without it. On the other hand, we were lucky enough to deploy this solution to a very high-end labor hire company called Hudson. If you live in Sydney and you're about to cross the bridge, there's a big building, big sign, Hudson, over 8,000 to 8,500 contractors. that are deployed across a myriad of industries, from legal to accounting, engineers. These guys are earning anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 a day. And the habits of whether you're a Challenger Services employee or a Hudson contractor, it's identical. You're going to transact the same times per month or per week, and the outcomes for both are the same. So again, there's no discrimination as to who uses Cashed. The high-end contractors could be using Cashed as a savings plan and not an emergency bill. So whether you're looking to put money in your offset or you're looking to urgently get to work or pay a doctor, there is no discrimination as to who uses this. Again, it's your money. If you've got access to it, I think anyone would take it. The last point I'm going to make around that is an employer doesn't ask their employee, how would you like to get paid? And I think that's the mindset that we're trying to change. We're trying to give flexibility to the employee, or at least give them the option to look at a more flexible way of deriving their hard-earned income, and real-time remuneration delivers that. In my intro on that agenda slide, I probably mentioned this is the most important. Let's just emphasize what I said earlier. We are strictly a B2B model, which I think is an ethical alternative to being a direct-to-consumer program. There are no direct debit authorities, there's no loan agreements, there's no sharing banking transactions. There's a flexible transaction fee model that I discussed earlier. Again, there's a 3-month free trial, and then we can jump into the fees, and your credit score is not affected. We believe that these key points differentiate us from a payday lending solution. Anyone can jump onto cash.com.au, and on the top, you'll see 4 employers or 4 employees. Under 4 employers, if you click on that tab towards the bottom, you'll see some frequently asked questions.
Thanks, Marcus, for a run through of the platform. Just to let everyone know, we drink our own champagne. Kilimanjaro provides Cashed as a financial well-being benefit to its own employees. And what I've done today is we've just shortlisted a few questions that we came across as we were rolling this benefit out internally. So, Marcus, from an employer perspective, who has access to the Cash platform?
So from the inception of an employer adopting Cash, the invitations will go out to anyone the employer selects from their employee base. Now, we could do it automatically, or they could select anyone within that feed of unregistered Cashed employees. If they invite them and the employee accepts, they become registered. In the unregistered column, there could be anyone from casuals to contractors to full-time, part-time, and the employer decides on who to invite to use the Cash solution. They may want to do it in batches. For instance, they may want to select 10% of the company to start and then roll it out slowly. But everyone, including the CEO, CFO, the exec suites, right down middle management, lower management, everyone can use Cashed, and they do.
Perfect. And then in terms of frequency, how often can employees use Cashed?
We get that question a lot. There is no limit on the number of times you can click on that withdrawal button. The only limit is your available balance. If there's a zero balance or close to zero, because you've already withdrawn, you won't be able to withdraw funds, and you'll get an alert that there's no available funds at that point. So to answer your question, you can withdraw as many times as you like within a given pay cycle or month. Typically, an employee will transact 5 to 6 times in a given month. And that's from current metrics.
Understood. And so if we just follow that chain of thought and say Cashed has been set up for a business and an employee makes a withdrawal, how would the employer then recover the withdrawn funds?
Very good question. So you may recall that we've got this proprietary tech of an automated deduction file process. So let's assume you, Marsha, an employee, withdraw $100. And that's $100 less that you're going to receive at the end of the pay cycle. But your employer needs to recover that $100 that you've taken today. Now, your employer might recover that, or cash might be funding it, or a third party. But assuming the employer is, at a given time on the pay cycle end, might be an hour before, might be a minute before, that's determined by the payroll officer. We close off payroll, and there's an automated deduction file that is pushed back into payroll with the capital sum that you've taken, as well as the fee, that is then automatically recovered, and the account is now topped up with that $100. So it's a cycle, and it always reconciles down to zero at that minute when payroll is run. So then the following hour or day, your wages start accruing again, and so the cycle continues.
Understood. Um, let's probably look at it from an employee's lens now. You've spoken about this not being alone and that you are essentially withdrawing what you've earned as at that point. Are there any hidden fees?
No, there's absolutely no hidden fees, and it's fully transparent on the actual solution. So assuming you, again, Marsha, are going to draw $100 and there's, say, a $2.50 fee, when you click that button to withdraw, you're seeing that fee. Assuming that you, the employee, are paying that fee. If the employer is paying the fee on your behalf and it's strictly an employee benefit, then that fee is zero, and there's an automated file for the employer to pay that fee at the end of the cycle. Outside of that, there are no hidden fees. And again, this is empowered by the employer to determine what those fees are, not by us.
Right.
So there are no hidden fees other than what the employer dictates to us.
Right. And then essentially on the dashboard that you showed where they're withdrawing, that's where they would actually see how much they're withdrawing and what the fees are as well. Yeah.
Exactly right.
Okay. In terms of time frames, are there any limitations on whether you can use cash on the weekends or not?
So in this world of, on demand, real-time remuneration is available 24/7, 7 days a week. There are no restrictions on when you can use cash. Um, the only restrictions apply on those limits and controls, where they're company umbrella limits or their withdrawal limits. And that's the only time you'll probably be rejected. And that's because there's limits in place. But from a timing perspective, 7 days a week, 24/7, always available.
Perfect. And so say someone has used Cash App to make that withdrawal, when do they get their funds?
In Australia, we're privileged. We've got what is known as the NPP, the National Payments Platform. When you click the button, it's instant. Literally, on clicking the button, the money hits your bank account and you get a zzz on your phone or your watch if you've got notifications that money's arrived in your account. In New Zealand, we're not as privileged with the MPP, and it could take up to an hour and a half for that money to hit your account. But real time is coming soon, but it's close to real time.
Understood. What are we looking at next? Are we moving on to the Q&A, the questions in the Q&A panel?
Let's have a look. Yes.
Okay, cool. We do have a few questions in there. The first one is from Betty asking, what are the typical reasons employees choose to access their wages early?
In the early days, our assumption was emergencies and bills. And in the early days, like a company like Challenger Services, who their employees are earning minimum wage, we thought, the adoption's strong, the transactions are strong. Is it just geared towards emergency funding? like a payday loan? And the answer is no. So when we brought on someone like I mentioned, Hudson, white collar workers, they didn't typically need the money for emergencies, but they typically like to invest in crypto. They're investing in their home loans or offset accounts. So the typical use is not what we think is typical. And the hard part for me to swallow is most employees don't want us to know what they're doing with their money, whether it's for savings or emergency. They just want those funds in their bank account for whatever reasons. So we have found that we've stopped asking that question. And I'm trying to move from the mindset that it's not just emergency. This is your money. You should have access to it. You do whatever you want with it. So typically, we're just changing the mindset of pay cycles and allowing employees to adopt this concept of real-time remuneration that they've earned, and now they should have access to it. And some may choose not to, but those that do, it's up to them what they spend it on.
Right, and I think the next question relates to that as well. Are there any perceived risks or downsides for employees using real-time remuneration services?
To date, there haven't been, but I can perceive where an employee is using it every hour or every minute. And we do have red flags for variance in our solution to pick up the misuse. Cashed as an organization, we're governed by AUSTRAC. So we have to report for both CTF and AML, which is anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism. We can't be seen to be supporting that with any payment flows. So the misuse could come there, but again, they're red flags, and we've got quarterly reporting to AUSTRAC. So to date, we haven't seen any misuse, but there are flags and security controls in the solution to prevent that.
Understood. In terms of the employers, then, what are the costs or challenges implementing the early wage access program?
So, sorry, the question, what are the costs?
Or challenges for
Okay.
employers?
So the good news is these are your customers and the integration's in place. That's the biggest barrier to entry, and it always has been for real-time remuneration. But because we have this integration, it could take less than, I would say, 3 minutes for any employer to sign up to Cashed, meaning using the flow of data that's already in place because it's already there. So there's no barrier to adopting Cashed from the customers on this webinar. It's instant. From a cost perspective, it's free for the first 3 months. So September, October, November, free, no costs, no hidden fees, no catch. I would say towards the end of November, we discuss a transaction fee that's applicable to either the employee or the employer, but again, the employer decides on that. And we there as a guide to highlight what works and what doesn't work. So in summary, easy onboarding, ready to go. You can start onboarding today, and no costs other than a discussion towards the end of November. And employers can choose to opt out at that point if they choose to, but I doubt they will. In summary, I've highlighted there, and anyone can take a photo of this with their phone if they choose to. 3-month free trial from 1st of September to the end of November. We will most certainly highlight that there's no hidden fees, there's no catches. We will have discussions towards the end of November if you want to continue. And we're looking forward to some adoption between now and the 1st of September and supporting your customers.
Now, as Marcus said, if there are any further questions, if you want us to arrange introductions, if you want to opt for a demo, have further conversations, please reach out to your Kilimanjaro account manager and we will help arrange these for you. We look forward to continuing these conversations. Thank you very much, Marcus, for your time today, and have a good rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you very much, Marcia, and thank you for the opportunity, and nice to meet everyone. Bye-bye.